Have you ever played a game where you just wished you could, go off the map and explore? Well, what if someone did that, but for music? Today, we're talking about Claude Debussy, who was, no joke, the original music hacker. Seriously, imagine it. A game with no levels, no final boss, just pure open-world exploration. It sounds awesome, right? Maybe a little chaotic, but what if music could be like that? Less like a story with a clear beginning, middle, and end, and more like an environment you can just get lost in. Well, that's the exact question Debussy was asking himself more than 100 years ago. So who was this guy really? To get why he changed everything, you first got to see him for what he was. Basically, a super talented student who got really bored. Okay, get this. The dude was a legit prodigy. At just 10 years old, he got into the Paris Conservatoire. That's like the MIT or Harvard of music. But even though he was at the top of his class, he thought the super strict old-school rules were a total drag. His teachers were all about color inside the lines. But Debussy, he wanted to invent brand new colors they had never even dreamed of. And to really understand why he felt so boxed in, you have to know what the old-school sound was like back then. The best way to think about it is music that was stuck on rails. So check this out. On the left, you've got traditional music. It's like one of those on-rails shooter games. It follows super strict rules, you always know which way it's going, and it always ends up exactly where you expect it to. Predictable. But Debussy, over on the right, wanted to blow up the tracks. He wasn't interested in the destination. He was all about the atmosphere, the mood. He wanted to turn that train ride into a massive open-world RPG. So how did he do it? How do you just break music? Well, he came up with his own set of musical hacks, kind of like cheat codes he used to completely change the game. Let's take a look at the new tools he put in his sound toolbox. First up, we've got the whole tone scale. This was basically his dream mode cheat code. You know how most songs feel like they land at the end on that one satisfying note? That's called a home bass, but this scale has no home bass. Every note is evenly spaced so it just floats. It creates this hazy, mysterious sound that feels like you're drifting through a dream. Nobody had really heard anything like it before. His next hack was the pentatonic scale. You've definitely heard this one before. It's a 5-note scale that's in folk music from all over the planet. For Debussy, using it was like putting a really cool filter on a picture. It instantly gave his music this ancient or international vibe and let him escape the basic happy and sad sounds that everyone else was stuck with. And his last major hack? Messing with chords. See, before Debussy, chords were like grammar. They served a purpose to move the musical sentence along. But Debussy started using chords for their color, for the vibe they created. Imagine you're a painter and you've only ever had red, yellow, and blue. Then one day, you walk into an art store with a million new shades. That's what Debussy did with music, creating these incredibly rich sounds that were totally new. Okay, so he's got all his hacks, his new scales, his new chords. So what did the final product actually sound like? Well, it created this completely new, totally dreamlike vibe. Yeah, this quote right here just nails it. When you listen to Debussy, you don't really walk away humming a catchy melody. It's more like experiencing a painting that moves. We're trying to remember the feeling of a really beautiful dream. It is all about the atmosphere. And I guarantee you have heard his music, even if you don't know the name. Stuff like Clair de Lune, which means moonlight, or the incredible La Mer, the sea. Anytime you're watching a movie or playing a game and the music gets all beautiful and mysterious and emotional, yeah, that's Debussy's DNA right there. All right, so it's a cool story about some guy from the 1800s, but why should you actually care? Because what he did shows how one person, one hacker, can completely change the game for every single person who comes after. Believe it or not, there is a straight line from this guy to the music you have on your phone right now. It goes like this. Debussy breaks all the rules. That inspires the next wave of composers to get experimental. Then, his ideas about using chords for color and mood seep into early jazz. And from there, boom, that atmospheric style becomes the actual blueprint for the soundtracks in the movies and video games we love today. It all traces back to him. So here's the big picture. His influence is literally everywhere. He didn't just write some new songs. He basically wrote a permission slip for every musician that came after him. A permission slip to experiment, to find their own voice, and to write their own rules. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Debussy looked at the system, at the rules of music, and decided to hack it.
He knew there was a better, more interesting way. So that brings up a big question for you. What are the rules in our world, in the art you see, the technology you use, even the way things are done at school, that are just waiting for someone like you to come along and completely change the game?